Have you ever been lying awake at night, gripped by a strange chill? Not from the cold air, but from the creeping thought of your own mortality? That one day, you'll simply stop. No thoughts, no sensations, no you. This fear of non-existence, of death as the great and final silence, haunts many of us. It shapes how we live, what we pursue, and even what we avoid. But what if this fear is completely unfounded? What if death is literally nothing to us? Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Epicurus proposed a radical idea: that death is not to be feared, because there is no one left to do the fearing. Today, we'll explore what Epicurus meant when he said death is nothing to us, and what his teaching can offer us as we face our own mortality in a chaotic, often death-fearing world. Hi, and welcome to The Unfolding Journey, where we explore timeless wisdom, philosophical reflection, and practical insights to help you live a deeper, more intentional life. Whether you're here out of curiosity, existential dread, or simply a love for big questions, you're in the right place. Let's unfold the mystery together. To begin, we need to understand who Epicurus was. Living in ancient Greece from 341 to 270 BCE, Epicurus was often misunderstood as a hedonist who encouraged indulgence in worldly pleasures. In reality, he was a philosopher of simplicity, calm, and contentment. His definition of pleasure was not endless partying or excess, but freedom from pain, aponia, and peace of mind, ataraxia. And central to achieving that peace, he argued, was this: death is nothing to us. Epicurus believed that much of human anxiety, whether we realize it or not, stems from our fear of death. This fear, he said, poisons our ability to live freely and fully. Let's break it down. Epicurus' argument goes something like this: all good and bad experiences require consciousness. Death is the absence of consciousness. Therefore, death cannot be good or bad for us, because we will not be there to experience it. It's not just that death isn't painful, it's that it isn't anything at all to the one who has died. When we die, we cease to exist. There is no lingering consciousness, no regret, no aftershock. In one of his most famous lines, Epicurus writes, "When we exist, death is not present, and when death is present, we do not exist." There's no overlap, no moment where we experience being dead. We may fear the process of dying, pain, illness, suffering, but death itself is not an experience. It's the absence of all experience. Now let's pause. You might be thinking, okay, fine, I won't feel death, but it's still terrifying to not exist. That's the real core of the issue for many of us: non-existence. The idea that our story simply ends. No consciousness, no legacy we're aware of, no you observing the aftermath. Epicurus had a response to this too. He said, look back at the eternity before your birth. Was that troubling to you? In other words, we didn't exist for billions of years before we were born. That wasn't painful or sad. It just was. So why should the eternity after our death be any different? If we are at peace with the time before our life, we should be at peace with the time after it. Fast forward to today. We live in a time where death is often hidden from view, outsourced to hospitals and funeral homes, airbrushed by media, and shielded from everyday life. Yet paradoxically, fear of death permeates much of our culture. We fear aging because it brings us closer to death. We fear irrelevance because we want to matter before we die. We chase distractions, money, status, beauty, as a kind of unconscious defense against our mortality. But does this fear serve us? Or does it just exhaust us? Epicurus believed that liberation from the fear of death was the path to tranquility. Accustom yourself to believe that death is nothing to us, for all good and bad consists in sensation, but death is deprivation of sensation. To internalize this is not to be cold or indifferent, but to be free. So what happens when we truly accept Epicurus' teaching? 1. We stop living in fear. Much of our fear, of failure, of rejection, of insignificance, traces back to our fear of death. When we stop fearing the end, we gain the courage to live more boldly. We stop procrastinating our dreams. We speak more honestly. We let go of the need for legacy and live for the joy of now. 2. We cherish the present moment. When you know that death is simply a return to nothingness, not a punishment, not a mystery, you start to see this moment as infinitely precious. The food you eat, the laugh you share, the quiet walk in the evening breeze. These become ends in themselves, not stepping stones to some grand, eternal reward. 3. We let go of superstitions and guilt. Epicurus was one of the first philosophers to challenge the religious fears of his day. He believed that the gods, if they existed, were indifferent to human affairs. They neither punished nor rewarded us. This meant no hell, no divine wrath, no fear of judgment after death. For many, this is liberating. It encourages a morality based not on fear, but on compassion and reason. Of course, not everyone finds Epicurus' view comforting. Some argue that his materialism, the idea that we are only body and atoms, leaves no room for soul or spirit. Others feel that even if death is not painful, the loss of life, the absence of being, is tragic. There's also the argument that if death is nothing, life becomes meaningless. But Epicurus would disagree. He'd say, life is meaningful because it is finite, just like a symphony is beautiful not because it lasts forever, but because it ends. The awareness of death doesn't strip life of value, it intensifies it. Personally, I've found Epicurus' ideas both sobering and freeing. When I first read his words, I remember feeling a strange sense of peace. Not because I no longer feared death entirely, but because I realized I didn't have to let that fear control me. It made me more intentional, more present, more willing to sit in silence and enjoy the fact that I exist at all. Death, as Epicurus saw it, is not the enemy. It's the bookend that makes each page of life precious. Now, let's not pretend this perspective solves everything. When someone we love dies, we feel that loss deeply. Epicurus acknowledged this. While the dead feel nothing, the living grieve. But even here, his wisdom offers some comfort. Grief is the price we pay for love. But love itself is a joy worth having, even knowing it must end. Understanding death as natural, inevitable, and non-threatening allows us to grieve with grace, not despair. Epicurus didn't deny death. He just removed its sting. His message was simple but powerful. Don't fear what you cannot experience. Don't trade the joy of today for the anxiety of tomorrow. And most importantly, don't let the fear of death rob you of the gift of life. So I leave you with a question. What would your life look like if you no longer feared death? If this exploration of Epicurus' teachings sparked something in you, if it helped you think more deeply about life, death, and how to live more fully, then I invite you to be part of this unfolding journey. Subscribe to the channel for more philosophical reflections, ancient wisdom, and ideas to guide your path. Speech Balloon, leave a comment below. What do you think of Epicurus' view on death? Comforting? Challenging? Somewhere in between. Bellhop bell and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment of insight. Thanks for spending your time here. Until next time, may your journey continue to unfold.